Hello, and welcome to my tutorial series on how to make a 2D platform in Unity. In this video, we're going to be adding a Cinemachine to our game. The Cinemachine allows a very easy way to customize our camera controls. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. It helps support this content a lot. Let's begin. So right now we have our main camera as a child of our player, which was fine for when we were developing our script, in that it could just follow our player around, but as you can see, every time we turn our player, kind of jerks back the whole scene back and forth, and we want a little more smoothness in that, and we also want other tools to be able to tailor our camera to our game. So we will use a Cinemachine for this, and basically the Cinemachine is a component we can attach to our camera that will give us these tools. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Window, and we're going to go down to Package Manager. And inside Package Manager, we can already see all the packages that are in our game right now. So if we click here, we can see in project, and what we want to do is click Unity Registry. And in the Unity Registry are other tools, or the complete set of packages that we can apply to our game. And right here we have Cinemachine. So go ahead and click that and click Install. Now, installing Cinemachine will take a moment. So once Cinemachine is downloaded, we can go ahead and close this window. Up at the top, we can see that we now have a Cinemachine drop-down menu. We can go down and click on Create 2D Camera. And we can see right away that it created a Cinemachine game object. What it also did was attach itself to our camera right here in this Cinemachine brain component that is now on our camera. Going back to the Cinemachine game object, we can see here that it says that framing transposer requires a follow target, which is right here. It wants to know what the camera is going to follow, because right now if I hit play, my game is no longer tracking my scene here. It doesn't know what to follow. So what we want it to follow is our player. So I'm going to go ahead, click on the player, drag him all the way across to this follow, and then drop him right in there. And now the camera will follow him. So we'll get to these colored boxes in a second. I'll just show you that once I hit play, now the camera will follow him very much in the way that it did when we had it as a child. So what we need to do now is customize it so that we can create some better movement or some better follow for our camera. So the very first feature we're going to use right here is the lens. And if you see, our camera is pretty zoomed in for a game like this. We want to zoom this out a little bit, and we would go to our lens feature for that. And right here under orthographic size, it says the number 5 on mine. Go ahead and make that a 10, and that will zoom out a bit more, and that will make it better for a platformer like this. The next thing we're going to go over is the screen X and screen Y right down here under body. And this allows us to move our camera to the left or to the right. See, when I go to the left, it moves the camera to the left. And likewise, in the Y direction, I can move it up or down. Sometimes some people like to just leave their camera a bit so the player is positioned a bit upwards. But for right now, I'm just going to leave it at 0.5, and I'll make adjustments as the game is developed. Another thing to look at right now is the dead zone. And if you look right here, we have these crosshairs, these blue crosshairs. And if I go ahead down here to dead zone width and I just move it out a little bit, you'll see that now there's two lines. They separate it out. And this is the dead zone in the X direction. And we'll change this to 0.3. Actually, let's make this even smaller. Let's make this 0.2. And let's go ahead and make this 0.1. And now you see that when I've moved both, we have this darker blue area right here. Actually, I'm going to make this even more thinner just because of the way our screen is designed here. So what this is, I'll actually hit play and it will show you how this works. is that if I move the character over here, the camera won't move with him until he leaves the dead zone. See how that worked when he went all the way over here? Let's get to the other side of this feature right here so we can see a little better because there's more space. So I'm going to go all the way here to the end, and here's the edge of the dead zone, and I move back and forth and the camera doesn't move, and if I move into it, the camera will move with me. Likewise, when I jump, it will only start moving when I get out of the dead zone. So this allows the player to move around a little bit without having the camera to move around and jerk around a lot, which is sometimes what you want in a game like this. You want to be able to move your player back and forth, but you don't always want your camera going back and forth and up and down a whole lot with you. So likewise, I'm going to go over here to where it says damping. And what damping does is that, and I'll make this even, let's make this 0.5. Maybe that's a little too small. 0.8. So I just wanted to lower this a little bit. So the damping is going to affect how the camera moves with that box a little bit. So it's another way to smooth out your camera functioning. So now when I move, the box moves with it, but it's a little bit delayed. So that's what the dampening does. If you don't want your camera to react with your player very quickly. And as you can see, it's kind of affecting the frame rate here also a little bit. So sometimes you have to think in terms of those things when you're making these adjustments, whether or not they're necessary, whether or not they're affecting the visualization of your game. And I'm just going to go back to 1, and then as you can see now it moves a lot quicker again. So the next thing I want to go over is the look ahead time, but first let's go ahead and grab our tile palette again, and let's just add, actually probably going to have to go back out of our game. Let's go to our scene, let's go to grid, and let's try our tile palette again. Let's just create a little more area for our player to run around on while we're trying to see how this works. So I'm going to go back into the game, and actually I'm going to go back into the Cinemachine. And so this look ahead time, if you look here, there's this yellow dot on Tofu Boy, and that's where the camera is aiming. And when I increase the look ahead time, and I'm going to move it all the way to 1, and this is going to be kind of an extreme over here to move it this high, but it'll give you a better idea of how this works. The look ahead will move the camera ahead in the direction he is moving. So I'm going to hit play. As you could see right away, when he fell, it dropped down here because that's where the camera went, and then it snapped back to him. And likewise, you can see that every time I move him to the left or to the right, it looks ahead to him. And now because it's all the way on 1, it makes this kind of shaky, but I wanted to make sure you saw how it worked, even though it's making it a little bit difficult to control. So, and I can smooth this out though. You see that we have this look ahead smoothing. I can increase this to, let's say, 12. And so it kind of smooths it out a little bit. Maybe you can't quite see it when it's that high, but now it might be a little better now that I smoothed it out. Let's say 3. But I think you get the idea that the camera's just going to move ahead of the character. So I'm going to move this. Actually, maybe I'll just leave it at, I know it actually, I'm going to move it back to 0 to show the next thing. So one of the next things is that when we hit jump, it moves as quickly as it does in the XY direction. It swings the whole picture up. And so you might want it in the X direction, but a lot of the times when people make platformers, they don't want the look ahead in the Y direction. So they create this look ahead, ignore Y. When we click on it, we can see that when we jump, the look ahead doesn't, or is not activated, but it is activated in the X direction. So there's a lot of features in Cinemachine, and we're obviously not going to get to all of them today, but one more we are going to talk about is the soft zone width, and the soft zone height. And as it says right here, when the target is within this region, the camera will gradually move vertically to realign towards the desired position, depending on the dampening speed, and for the width, it would realign towards the player or the object in the horizontal position. So what it's basically talking about is this outer blue region that touches the red here, and this is where it will realign within this region. So you can change the size of that area depending on how you want it to realign, and you do it by lowering or raising the soft zone width and height. So now I'm just going to adjust everything to give our camera a pretty decent view while we're continuing the development of this. It won't be finalized, but it'll be a good starting point. We're gonna have a little bit of a look ahead time. I'm probably gonna increase this, let's say about 3, and let's see, we got to go down to our dead zone. So let's open that up a little bit. Actually, let's 0.5 and 0.5. Does that look good? We'll try that right now and see how it is. Let's hit play. Oh, actually, we don't want this in the Y direction. Let's hit play now. So I think that looks pretty good for right now. Like I said, I can always change it and adjust it later to fit the game a little better. But I think for now, going forward, I'm going to stick with this setting right now because it gives me enough to where the camera isn't moving too much as I navigate around obstacles, but it's changing just enough to where I can see some of the positioning better. So I think I like it for now right there. I'll probably make further refinement later on. So thank you for watching. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and support me on Patreon. And a big thanks to all my Patreon supporters. All links are in the description below. See you next time.